I'm super excited to be here at the Accelerate in Seattle, sitting down with Katrina Shackelford, the Director of Selling Partner Developer Services at Amazon. And today we're going to talk about the amazing updates that they're releasing this year. But before we get there, Katrina, I want to get to know you a little bit better and your journey, the things that took you here.
Sure. Thanks, Vanessa. I'm super excited to be at Amazon Accelerate here with you. And it's so fun to see so many sellers in one place. We don't get that opportunity very often. To answer your question, I've been at Amazon for 5.5 years, but I spent a few years elsewhere and recently rejoined in May to the same team that I left. I've been super lucky for the past 2 decades to work across multiple great companies and multiple amazing industries, but one theme has always remained consistent in my career, and that is fueling the growth of small businesses and entrepreneurs. My first role doing this was actually at 3M, where I partnered with local plumbers to expand their business into water filtration. But since then, I've done this with local restaurants and merchants at Groupon, e-commerce entrepreneurs at Clearco, and here at Amazon, I do this with sellers and solution providers that support them. I found that with each company, I've been able to learn so much more about the challenges of small business owners and operators, as well as the challenges of individual industries. For example, I know way more about plumbing than any tech executive probably could claim. What about you, Vanessa? Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been deeply involved in the e-commerce world since 2017, helping sellers to manage their business properly and the back end. I love your story about the plumbing because I feel that I do the plumbing sometimes in Seller Central, like learning all of the back end operations, tedious, time consuming. And that problem solving, I created a reputation by educating people on how to solve those things, navigate challenges. Right now, as a co-founder of Seller Assist by Carbon6 and a community ambassador, I focus my time on helping sellers to offload that work so they can focus on the growth of their business, because the business owner doesn't need to necessarily be doing the plumbing. So that's kind of like we are in the same area.
Absolutely.
In a sense. So I heard your presentation here at Accelerate, which was extremely exciting. And I see the work that your team is doing. But for those who are unfamiliar with your team, can you tell us a little bit more of what you do and what you focus on?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, when I returned to Amazon in May, I rejoined my old team, the team I came from before. And a big reason for that is because I'm so passionate about our mission to fuel the growth of small businesses, both in terms of sellers and the solution providers that support them. What we do isn't as flashy as, say, Buy with Prime or as well known as Amazon FBA. But what's amazing about what we do is we fundamentally impact sellers' businesses every day. And I mean hundreds of thousands of sellers every single day. We build and manage the data infrastructure on which innovative companies like Carbon6 build solutions. And these solutions, which we call apps, help sellers automate their business. What does it mean exactly in terms of what we actually do? At our core, what we do is we externalize Amazon's seller business data through APIs. Going back to the plumbing analogy that we were just discussing, think of APIs as the plumbing that connects your data stores with Amazon's data stores. That plumbing can be a simple one-way pipe where you are pulling information that you need or waiting to be notified that you need to do something. Or it could be more complex than that, where it's a two-way pipe and you are pushing data back to us. Maybe you're lowering a price or maybe you're updating an image. Many larger sellers choose to build a direct integration with us by connecting their data plumbing into ours. But many, many more choose to have a third party sit in between them and Amazon, directing the flow of data and translating it into actionable insights and or real action across all of their channels, not just Amazon.
That's so exciting. Like, I love the analogy of the plumbing because I think that relates a lot to what you do in the back end. And sometimes people don't notice. I always enjoy the learning about the behind the scenes of teams, and your analogy of the plumbing, it's like on point of what you do. But a lot of us just expect things work. Like our apps, our tools, we just expect that. So what is the reality there?
Well, I think that point is exactly the point. You have so many things to worry about. The last thing you should be worrying about as a seller is whether the tools that you rely on to accomplish your day-to-day tasks are actually going to work or not. But for us, it's more than just keeping the water running or keeping the lights on, so to speak. We obsess over how we can find ways to help sellers find the right app for them and how we can close the gap between what they need and what's actually available to them on the market right now. Tell me, Vanessa, what's Carbon6's take on this?
Well, I think you are on point on everything you're building with the integration. And I think for a lot of sellers right now, the selling experience is getting more complex and they need to learn as they go, like in real time. So they need to shift strategies, make decisions, make the team like learn or go in the same direction that they're going. So it takes a lot of time and energy. I think the consolidation and having information readily available for them at the, in real time so they can ask fast is critical. And this just, it's not about just keeping up, which is a huge thing. This is about staying ahead. So having the right information, the right tools at the right time, it's the most productive thing that we can do for sellers because the overwhelming experience of keeping up with all of the things. So our goal, and I think the goal of your team as well, is to give the sellers their time back so they can focus on what truly matters for growing their business.
Absolutely, Vanessa. As you know, we've been working hard at finding ways to adapt the selling experience within Seller Central to reduce the amount of time and energy it takes for sellers to grow their business.
Yeah, and this is a perfect segue for my next question, which is about one of the updates that you released here at Accelerate. Can you tell me a little bit more about the notifications in Seller Central feature?
Well, at Amazon Accelerate last year, we announced that we were starting a pilot for a new feature that allows sellers to receive third-party app notifications, but directly within their Seller Central experience. This year, we announced that we're launching the program to general availability and will soon include over 50 well-known apps. This notifications feature was a big step for us, meaning both for our team and for Amazon. We knew that over 1.8 million Amazon sellers use third-party apps like Carbon6 to perform critical tasks for their business, but these apps were always very separate from Seller Central. What this meant was that sellers would have to check their inventory app to see their inventory levels, their advertising app to check how their ad campaigns were going, their listing app to check how listings were going, and they also had to be working in Seller Central for many of their critical features. Now, I know this problem all too well. At my job, I get pings from Slack, from Chime, from my phone, from text messages, and every once in a while, a notification falls through the crack, which I'm sure happens for everyone. But for me, when that happens, a colleague might get frustrated or my husband might get annoyed. But imagine you're a seller who misses a critical notification. You might be out of inventory, or your listing may have been removed, or your ads have stopped. This could mean the difference between scaling your business and running into serious problems. With notifications in Seller Central, we're solving for this problem by letting third-party apps send notifications into one central hub.
And we got a sneak peek of that, what you're doing here at Amazon Accelerate.
That's right. Since we announced the pilot at Accelerate last year, over 300,000 sellers adopted this feature, which took us by surprise. We had a hypothesis that sellers wanted to use it, but we didn't know to the extent they were going to engage in it. But once we saw that adoption, we knew we were onto something, and we knew we had to figure out what more can we do with this feature. So this year, we're excited to announce the launch of a new program called Embedded Third-Party Apps.
So before we keep going, and I want to make sure the sellers watching this are understanding what this feature means. We at Carbon6, we've been privileged to be part of the pilot program for it. So can you tell us a little bit more about what it is and what's the experience that they could expect?
Absolutely, and we've been so excited to be partnering with Carbon6 on this program. The thing is, I truly believe that this feature is going to fundamentally change the ways sellers interact in Seller Central. As we discussed with notifications, we've brought in this capability for sellers to be able to receive critical notifications from third-party apps in Seller Central. But the problem with notifications as it stands right now is that in order for a seller to actually do something about that notification, they get the notification in Seller Central, they see it, they leave, they log into the app where they have to take the action, they have to figure out where they're trying to take the action, then they have to take the action, and then they might even have to go back in Seller Central to make sure it happened the way they want it to happen. The thing with third-party embedded apps feature is it'll allow sellers to be able to click on the notification and then take that action that they're being prompted to take directly in Seller Central, cutting out all of those other steps.
That's a huge step forward, and I'm super excited to see it work because I know sellers will benefit from this consolidation, getting the time back. But how does it exactly work?
Yeah, I'm glad you agree because we think sellers are going to love this feature. How it works is simple. If a seller is authorized one of the third-party apps that are participating in the third-party embedded app program, they're able to simply drag and drop the app into their customizable Seller Central dashboard, or they can also use it within the Seller Central workflow pages that directly tie to what that app does. Let's take Carbon6's PixelMe, for example. Sellers who use this app will be able to add PixelMe into their third-party dashboard within Seller Central. From there, they can take advantage of all that PixelMe has to offer, like managing traffic drivers to improve bestseller rank, return on ad spend, as well as overall ranking. They'll be able to do this without having to leave Seller Central, opening a new tab, operating in a new app, and managing all of that separately.
So as you know, many sellers are not only concerned about the technology, but the benefits it offers. One of the most common concerns that I hear all the time is making timely decisions and avoiding mistakes or missing opportunities. Do you think this update will help with that? And what are your thoughts on how this will impact sellers who are worried about missing critical information?
Well, you know, it's a well-known trope that time is money. But the reason that saying has stuck around so long is because it's really true. As a seller, you're faced with seemingly countless decisions every day, decisions that can cost you money or decisions that can make you money. To make good decisions, you need two things. The first thing you need is to have the right information. And when it comes to selling on Amazon, our notifications and Seller Central feature helps you get that information that you need in the right place. But the second thing you need is decision velocity, like you were talking about before. You need to be able to make good decisions quickly to stay ahead of the game. The embedded app feature helps you to do this by eliminating the steps you have to take in order to act on those decisions. It reduces the space that exists between getting the information you need and then acting on this information. But we're not just reducing the time it takes to make good decisions, we're reducing the effort too. Before, you had to check your email, open a new browser tab, go to your app's website, log into that website, and then find the right part of the app that you needed to use and so on. Now you can just skip all of those things and take action on the decisions immediately without all of those steps in between. I'm curious, Vanessa, based on your conversations with sellers, what do you think Carbon6 sellers will be most excited about with this launch?
Well, I think the whole launch, it's incredible. We always talk about consolidation, getting things in one place, and taking PixelMe as an example. Sellers can now track all of their metrics in the dashboard, which provides a huge improvement in the experience overall. So you don't need to juggle between multiple tabs or multiple browsers, as you mentioned. But moreover, I think in a face-based industry like we're all in, having the information in one place is crucial. Because also think about, we're talking about teams. Like the majority of successful sellers don't run their business by themselves. They have people helping them.
Absolutely.
So when you consolidate that in one place, it's like, okay, everybody's seeing the same thing. Everybody's looking at the same dashboard. So I think that unlocks extreme opportunities to move faster, make better decisions, and really act on what's happening. Streamlining workflows is incredible, and I think this is something that you need in this era to remain competitive. For our sellers that are eager to access this feature, when and where this will be available?
Great news. We are launching this in October, so sellers can look for emails from Amazon as well as Carbon6 and some of their other favorite apps to get started. We're super excited for sellers to start using the functionality because we need all the feedback we can get. That's actually one of the reasons we're here at Accelerate, to get feedback from sellers even before we launch to improve the feature.
That's incredible. And I think a lot of times sellers are nervous that their opinion is not taken in consideration when developing new tools. How do you take that in consideration? How do you listen to them, and what have you done to get to a point where you're building for them?
Sure. Well, I like to think of product development as a team sport, and it really is. There are so many players involved in launching a new feature, from UX and tech and product and marketing, but there's also frontline teams that support, like support, account management, solutions architecture, business development. These teams are working with our sellers day in and day out to get the knowledge that we need about the pain points they have to build better features. When in product development, when I think about product development as a team sport, I also think of it as a dance. And your partner is your customer. So there are times as Amazon, we take the lead in the dance where we, for example, have a new idea for a product feature and want to test it out, or because we're announcing something new to the world. But most of the times, the way we think about is we think of our dance partner leading us, which means our roadmaps are generated by working backward from customer feedback and incorporating those just valuable insights into what we're doing. Notification and embedded apps were both dances for us. As I mentioned before, we had a hypothesis that sellers wanted to engage in third-party apps in Seller Central, but we didn't know exactly what that meant. So we started talking to sellers. We set up interviews, focus groups, user studies, where we could get direct and frankly candid feedback from our sellers. Now, sometimes that feedback is as simple as saying, we don't like this button over here, it should be over here, or what about a different color? But a lot of times, the feedback really gives us deeper insights that fundamentally shifts what we actually end up building. And those inputs help us create better products day in and day out. It really does take two to tango, and we've been lucky to have so many sellers and developers on this project, helping to make sure that we are launching the best possible features for sellers.
Yeah, and it's extremely exciting thinking about the development in Q4, where I'm sure we're going to be all eager to look at that and seeing what it could do for the business. One thing that I'm hesitant to ask, because I know that you've been working so hard in this program, but in this fast-paced ecosystem, like what is next? Where do you think this will go?
Well, I think the first thing we're going to do is take a deep breath after Amazon Accelerate comes to a close. But then it's about taking all the feedback that we're gathering here and incorporating it into our plans. First, we're going to continue to expand the number and variety of apps participating in notifications in Seller Central, and we're going to do the same for embedded apps as well. I also mentioned that a lot of our work is helping sellers find the right app for them at the right time and the right place. As part of this, we want to make it easier for all sellers to be able to discover and use the apps or services that help them scale their business for their unique needs. We hear from sellers it can be hard to find the right tools or know which one will actually help them best. And complexifying that, sellers aren't just sellers. Sellers participate in a whole range of programs across all of Amazon, and that in itself can be really daunting. One of the best things about third-party apps and services is they can help sellers better understand how to navigate all the programs across Amazon, in addition to all the available functionality across or available solutions across all of their channels. So to address this, we'll be enhancing the way sellers discover apps and services and really improving our ability to make recommendations to help them narrow down to the options that best suit their unique use cases, location, or price points. Tell me, Vanessa, based on your conversations with sellers, how can we continue to build on this new experience to delight sellers?
I think keeping the communication channel open will be critical. And my experience is that a lot of sellers are looking for more customization and better integration. And that's the big proposition at Carbon6. We want to integrate that, we want to consolidate it so you go to one place and you have it all. And I think our goals are super aligned in that. But regardless the size, it's just giving the opportunity of the sellers to keep in the loop. And the critical part, and I think it will benefit a lot, is that now everybody on their team will be able to see the information. That is massive. I think will unlock a lot of opportunities. And one thing that is exciting is in the future, adding some AI analytics and those capabilities will be amazing for the community. Like, I'm super sure that they will be eager to not only experience that, but also helping you make those decisions so you can improve the system in the future. I know the work never stops, so I'm super excited to hear about these updates and look forward seeing them in real life and hearing what the feedback is from the community. Is there anything else that you want to add, final thoughts on this topic and a message for the sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we know the struggle of operating an online retail business that's fragmented across so many different platforms and so many different channels, each with their own unique way of doing things. We know that this isn't ideal, and we understand that there's unnecessary friction and redundancies to just do basic functions to manage your day-to-day business. What we're working toward is a world in which sellers can focus more on their business level needs and less on those channel level or program level annoyances. Of course, there'll always be differences in how selling channels work and how programs work, but we imagine a world in which sellers can manage all aspects of their business from one portal with one sign-in, where all of the apps and tools can talk to each other across channels. And sellers can leave the plumbing to us, so to speak, in terms of what's going on in the back end. By bringing third-party apps into Seller Central, we're one step closer to making this a reality for sellers.
I'm super excited to see it.
I am too. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Katrina, for sitting with me and sharing the amazing updates that your team is working on. I'm super excited to see where this goes. And for all of the sellers that are out there looking at the updates and watching these videos, make sure to stay tuned because we have more releases and more information for you that will be critical for the success of your business.